So this happens to be one of my favorite pieces of all time. This is actually, I am standing next to the original painting, and this is called Route 66. And in my youth, I lived not too far from the famous Route 66, and oftentimes there'd be bikers going through there, but later on as I got into muscle cars, there's a lot of people who just get on that road to travel because it's got so much history in it, mainly because this route basically took you from one side of the US to the other. And so in this particular piece, I wanted it to be nostalgic, so I decided to paint a little bit differently than I normally do and do everything in sepias, because what that sort of does is sort of reinforce the nostalgic feeling about it. And you know, of course, this is at an old garage, but for about 3 years, I toured with the late Thomas Kincaid, God rest his soul. And I came to the gallery early one day, and Thomas was adding a number to his paintings. I said, "Hey, what is that you're doing?" He said, "When I put a number in a painting, that's how many times I hide my wife's initial, N for Nanette, in a painting." And I said, "Mr. Kincaid, that is brilliant. I want to start hiding things in my painting. Do you mind if I steal that idea?" He says, "Go ahead." So sometimes I'll hide my wife's initials in a painting, like an LG. That just lets you know that I got in trouble 2 weeks earlier and I'm trying to get points. But in this particular painting, much different. One of the things that I did early on in this painting is I was at the same time publishing a book called Don't Drink and Draw, and the person who was doing the foreword to my book was a person named Ozzy Osbourne, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. And so I decided to get a little bit of rock and roll in there. So if you can see in the back, there's these little hands going like this that I've hidden into the landscape, and that's something that a lot of people don't know. Also, if you look very closely at the dates that are actually inside the gas tanks, those are actually 2 of the birth dates of my daughters. So that kind of makes it a little bit more meaningful. And of course, you know, there's this Olive, he's kind of round like me. He's got muscles, which I don't. He's got a wallet chain, so there's a little bit of me in there as well. And I even wrote back here, Godard was here, in case somebody didn't know I did the painting. But one of the best things about this painting is, first of all, the original painting was since published, and that means that there's limited editions. So not only are there editions of this that have been sold all around the world, but lots of merchandise has also been made from this, and this has inspired a lot of things. One of the first people to get a custom print from me was Ozzy Osbourne, who asked me to slip his name into the gas tank, and which was a lot of fun. And so you see my sexy strawberries. The one thing when you look at this painting that you cannot mistake is that it's a Godard painting. And I think when you look at the iconography of my work over the years, this is a painting that has been seen many, many times. And here I'm standing next to the original, which is kind of fun for me because this painting was done, I would say, probably about 15, almost 20 years ago. And a lot of the times these paintings get sold, resold again, and they're resold again. But it was a departure from the normal work that I was doing at the time, which is pretty incredible. And the fact that it was all done in sepia tones. And since from this, a lot of other themes that I have done, like my retro series, a newer series called My Wise Guys. There was another series that I did that also had nostalgia in it that had to do with New York and things, and famous photographs sort of recreated in a Godard style. But this was the painting that that actually inspired a lot of other paintings, a lot of other series. And it's one of my favorite paintings. Now, it's also large. It's actually quite large, and I love the frame on this too. And the reason I do paintings like this large is because it gets recreated. Sometimes, you know, if this were in, say, magazines where I need 600 DPI, I've got to have really great photos taken of it. If it was going to be the backdrop at, say, an Ozzy concert, it has to have very, very fine detail in it. So, so I like to work large. That's good. And by the way, instead of filling this with regular petrol, he uses vodka to fill his tank, which also burns, and it is, yeah, it is fuel nonetheless. But yeah, but I hope you like it, and it's very unique in my iconography. And again, you can't look at this painting and not know it's Godard. So there you go.